from various organizations, both public and private. ESA Unggul considers learning processes seriously. We create enabling academic and non-academic learning spaces with great attention. We strive to produce digital entrepreneur graduates. This is how ESA Unggul University contributes to humanity.
Penting sekali bagi Universitas ESA Unggul untuk membuat terobosan dan berbenah diri menyongsong era digital. ESA Unggul wujudkan generasi digitalpreneur di Indonesia. Selamat datang di Universitas ESA Unggul. Mari bergabung bersama lebih dari 16.000 mahasiswa lainnya.
The fast and vast global dynamic we are in now demand human resource that's technology savvy, highly intelligent, independent, and has strong communication skill. Technology transformation is an inevitable reality. The rapid change must be anticipated by forward-looking educational institutions in shaping the ideal human resource. Esa Unggul University is ready to embrace such change. Academic and non-academic achievements that we have are the result of continuous improvement processes in realizing Esa Unggul as a world-class university. Esa Unggul believes in supporting both organizational and individual achievements. This is our contribution to the society in the field of education, research, and knowledge application towards the prosperity of society. We provide a broad range of programs for students, preparing them to be more competitive in this world. For this, Esa Unggul University offers 3 campuses across the greater Jakarta area. In Bekasi, Tangerang, and South Tangerang, where our international campus is located. All 3 campuses strive to give the society a quality international standard university. Langkah pertama untuk menjadi smart, creative, entrepreneurial global citizen.
Mampu menumbuhkan kreativitas dan menciptakan inovasi-inovasi, memberikan solusi yang berbeda, dan mampu menerapkan ilmu pengetahuan bagi kemaslahatan kehidupan manusia.
Menciptakan peluang dan perubahan-perubahan untuk memenangkan persaingan.
Kampus Digital Universitas Esa Unggul adalah jawaban dari perubahan peradaban yang modern dan cepat. Jadi, di mana saja Anda bisa belajar dan berkembang bersama dengan ribuan mahasiswa lainnya dari seluruh dunia.
Esa Unggul is an aspiring world-class university with a mission to prepare its students to become digitalpreneurs. Someone who is ready to enter digitalization era with an intellectual and understanding approaches. Esa Unggul is the answer to the world challenges we are seeing now, the technology disruption and the rise of artificial intelligence. In creating digitalpreneurs, Esa Unggul encourages students to be smart, creative, and entrepreneurial. Becoming smart digitalpreneurs means students are prepared through academic and non-academic activities under a curriculum that anticipate the world issues. With top-of-the-game learning facilities and faculty members, students are encouraged to become the best learners. Creative means the ability and skill of digitalpreneur to find solutions to the world problems. In Esa Unggul, creativity and strong leadership are developed to enable students and graduates to compete on a global scale. Entrepreneurial means students and graduates who master technology development, the digitalization. Students and graduates who have extensive network and insight, and students who can develop working strategies. Esa Unggul University pays great attention to achievements and strong leadership skill. It is not surprising that Esa Unggul has recorded numerous awards and recognitions from various organizations, both public and private. ESA Unggul considers learning processes seriously. We create enabling academic and non-academic learning spaces with great attention. We strive to produce digital entrepreneur graduates. This is how ESA Unggul University contributes to humanity.
Penting sekali bagi Universitas ESA Unggul untuk membuat terobosan dan berbenah diri menyongsong era digital. ESA Unggul wujudkan generasi digitalpreneur di Indonesia.
Our participants of the speech,
Selamat datang di Universitas Esa Unggul. Mari bergabung bersama lebih dari 16.000 mahasiswa lainnya.
The fast and vast global dynamic we are in now demand human resource that's technology savvy, highly intelligent, independent, and has strong communication skill. Technology transformation is an inevitable reality. The rapid change must be anticipated by forward-looking educational institutions in shaping the ideal human resource. Esa Unggul University is ready to embrace such change. Academic and non-academic achievements that we have are the result of continuous improvement processes in realizing Esa Unggul as a world-class university. Esa Unggul believes in supporting both organizational and individual achievements. This is our contribution to the society in the field of education, research, and knowledge application towards the prosperity of society. We provide a broad range of programs for students, preparing them to be more competitive in this world. For this, Esa Unggul University offers 3 campuses across the greater Jakarta area. In Bekasi, Tangerang, and South Tangerang, where our international campus is located. All 3 campuses strive to give the society a quality international standard university. Langkah pertama untuk menjadi smart, creative, entrepreneurial global citizen.
Mampu menumbuhkan kreativitas dan menciptakan inovasi-inovasi, memberikan solusi yang berbeda, dan mampu menerapkan ilmu pengetahuan bagi kemaslahatan kehidupan manusia.
Menciptakan peluang dan perubahan-perubahan untuk memenangkan persaingan.
Kampus Digital Universitas Esa Unggul adalah jawaban dari perubahan peradaban yang modern dan cepat. Jadi di mana saja Anda bisa belajar dan berkembang bersama dengan ribuan mahasiswa lainnya dari seluruh dunia.
Esa Unggul is an aspiring world-class university with a mission to prepare its students to become digitalpreneurs. Someone who is ready to enter digitalization era with an intellectual and understanding approaches. Esa Unggul is the answer to the world challenges we are seeing now, the technology disruption and the rise of artificial intelligence. In creating digitalpreneurs, Esa Unggul encourages students to be smart, creative, and entrepreneurial. Becoming smart digitalpreneurs means students are prepared through academic and non-academic activities under a curriculum that anticipate the world issues. With top-of-the-game learning facilities and faculty members, students are encouraged to become the best learners. Creative means the ability and skill of digitalpreneur to find solutions to the world problems. In Esa Unggul, creativity and strong leadership are developed to enable students and graduates to compete on a global scale.
Entrepreneurial.
Ladies and gentlemen, the opening ceremony is going to start in 5 minutes. Please have a nice seat and back to your position.
All participants of the speech, 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 participants of the speech,
Excellencies, distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace be upon you. Good morning for Indonesian time and surroundings, and hello wherever you are, because this is the international event attended by people around the world. We are delighted to welcome you to the first International Youth and Conference ICLEC 2022 by the Center of Language and Culture, Universitas Esa Unggul, Jakarta, Indonesia. I am Julia Angelita, as the Master of Ceremony, along with all of the committee involved, would like to welcome the honorable ones, Vice Rector of Students and Alumni Affairs of Esa Unggul University, Mr. Ari Pambudi Eskom MCom, Head of Center of Language and Culture Universitas Esa Unggul, Miss Rosalina Nugraheni Wulan Purnami, SPD MPD, Mentor of EPRO Club Esa Unggul University, Mrs. Daniel Bernecker, Chairman of the Committee First International Youth Conference on Language and Culture, ICLEC 2022, Rubika Himawan Efto, keynote speakers, Mr. Yuta Otake and Ms. Sa'dia Ma'ruf, and also presenters and participants, Youth Conference on Language and Culture, ICLEC 2022. Before we start this event, as a cultured and religious nation, to begin today's conference, let us pray for a moment. Prayer begins. Prayer ends. Okay. Before we start to the main event, let me read the agenda first. Before we go to the main event, we will listen to the Indonesian National Anthem, Indonesia Raya, and the March of Esa Unggul University. Then, we will listen to the opening speech of Chairman of Committee First International Youth Conference on Language and Culture, ICLEC 2022. Furthermore, we will listen to the Vice Rector of Student and Alumni Affairs of Esa Unggul University's speech as the official opening of the First International Youth Conference on Language and Culture, ICLEC 2022, and continued with cultural performance from English Pro Club Esa Unggul. Hereinafter, we will go to the main agenda, which is a discussion with keynote speakers and a parallel session. And before the ending of the event, we will watch the cultural performance again from Hungary Korean Club. Then it will close with closing statement from the head of Center of Language and Culture, Esa Unggul University. And before we get into our first agenda, there are several rules that must be adhered during this conference, including, first, participants need to attend at least 10 minutes before International Youth Conference on Language and Culture. Second, turn your camera on and use virtual background that has been prepared. Third, keep your mic off during the International Youth Conference on Language and Culture. Fourth, participants required to use real name instead pseudonyms. Fifth, for Q&A session, participants can use the raise hand feature and unmute mic with moderator permission. Sixth, link for attendance will be shared at the end. Ladies and gentlemen, now we are going to listen to the Indonesian National Anthem, Indonesia Raya, and March of Esa Unggul University. Let's listen wisely.
Marilah Esa Unggul putra putri bangsa siap berbakti untuk Indonesia. Tegakkan cita-cita, wujudkan mimpi bersama. Bukti bakti mengabdi untuk negara. Universitas Esa Unggul putra putri bangsa berkarya dengan penuh sukacita. Dengan bangga memakai jubah alma mater kita. Kukuhkan sikap untuk jadi pedoman. Gerak langkah ke depan. Kuatkan hati capai masa gemilang. Bersama Esa Unggul majukan Nusantara. Dengan tekad kuat kita jaya. Universitas Esa Unggul putra putri bangsa siap berbakti untuk Indonesia. Tegakkan cita-cita, wujudkan mimpi bersama. Bukti bakti mengabdi untuk negara.
Excellencies, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we are going to listen to the opening speech delivered by Chairman of the Committee First International Youth Conference on Language and Culture, ICLEC 2022, Rubika Himawan Efto. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rubika Himawan Efto. Time and screen is yours.
All participants of the speech,
All right, I feel so nervous because this is the first time for me to give the opening speech using English in front of big camera and inside the TV studio like this, but I'm really glad to be here. All right, I will start. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the first International Youth Conference on Language and Culture, or ICLEC 2022. Let me introduce myself. My name is Rubika Himawan Efto, and I am the head of committee of this event. Before I go to the main point, I would like to thank to all of the honorable guests. There are Mr. Ari Pambudi, Eskom MCom, as the Vice Rector of Esa Unggul University, Mrs. Rosalina Purnami, MPD, as the head of Central Language and Culture, Ms. Daniel Bernecker as the mentor of EPRO Club Esa Unggul University. She's from Pennsylvania, USA. And of course, our honorable keynote speakers, there are Mr. Yuta Otake and Ms. Sakdia Ma'ruf. All right, actually we have more than 100 students that register in this event. And also we have 28 students as panel speaker who will present their material in a breakout room. Yeah, most of them are from Indonesia, but some of them are from outside Indonesia. Yeah, for the speaker from Indonesia, there's speaker from Surabaya, Jakarta, Surakarta, and Bali. And for outside Indonesia, and Bandung, sorry. And for outside Indonesia, there's speaker from Colombia, Ecuador, Panama, Philippines, Malaysia, Thailand, and India. And because of this is very beneficial events, please join with us until the end of the session. Yeah? And of course, you have to join the breakout room in the parallel session also. And okay, I think I'm not going too much in this opening speech. Yeah? After this, there will be opening speech by Mr. Ari Pambudi as the Vice Rector of Esa Unggul University. And thank you very much for joining with us, and thank you very much for your attentions. We'll be back to our MC, Julie.
All participants of the speech,
Thank you, Rubika Himawan Efto, for your opening speech. Next, Excellencies, distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we are going to listen to the opening speech delivered by the Vice Rector of Student and Alumni Affairs of Esa Unggul University. We would like to request the Vice Rector of Students and Alumni Affairs of Esa Unggul University to officially open the first International Youth Conference on Language and Culture, ICLAC 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ari Pambudi, Eskom, MCom.
Oke, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Pergi jalan-jalan ke Pariaman, singgah sebentar di Painan. Bapak dan Ibu yang budiman, salam hormat saya haturkan. Hari Sabtu ke Bukit Tinggi, singgah sebentar di Kota Baso. Good morning, selamat pagi, para hadirin, selamat bersua. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here today at this wonderful place. My name is Ari Pambudi. It is such an honor for me to speak on behalf of our university. I'm very thankful to you, Mr. Yuta Otake, teacher trainer, Mr. Sadia Ma'ruf, Mrs. Daniel Bernekel, Mrs. Eta, Head of Hungary Korean Club Indonesia, for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend this event. I also wish to thank you to Ibu Prita Siyudi, Director of International Office. Let me begin by giving you a warm welcome to first International Youth Conference on Language and Culture with theme Preserving Youth Identity in Multicultural Society. Before we get started, I would like to express my appreciation to Center of Language and Culture Esa Unggul University, who generously helped us make this event come true in our university. Ibu Rosalina Nugraheni, Head Center of Language and Culture. Rubika Efto, Committee Chairman, Student of English Department Esa Unggul University. Also to all committee and supporter of this event. 2, 5, 10 years ago, I never could imagine that the development of information technology would be rapid. This change affects the character of youth, causing faster cultural exchange. This change in identify certainly has positive and negative impact. Its region or country has its own characteristic, including the youth generation. Imagine if the younger generation got the right education, their identity will be recognized and developed. Developing education is able to shape the character of the younger generation. The formation of the character identity of younger generation must be instilled from early education. Multicultural-based education helps the younger generation understand, accept, and appreciate the different ethnic groups, culture, values, and religion, as well as nationality as an expression of identity empowerment toward multiculturalism. Everyone has something special that's different from one another. This difference is something that does not need to be debated. Difference is well for mankind. In looking at this difference must be a positive point of view. Thus we are able to see it as a well that must be present. The development of the times is important factor in maintaining and preserving identity. The increased rapid human mobility through the internet makes it easy for humans to interact. Making friends with people who are in other countries and even continent can be easily done in this modern era. This is of interacting with other people doesn't rule of the possibility in the negative crime to occur in modern times. Do not occur in one country, but between countries. There are no many young criminals. This requires serious attention, especially in the field education. Thus, the younger generation has a strong character in warding of crime. You are the leader of the future. In leading nation, it is not wise to allow local character to be eroded by foreign culture that are not necessarily compatible with the original culture. In the current era of globalization, it is clear that identity and character of the young generation is eroding. Various foreign culture need to be filtered so as not to lose the original identity of the young generation. The younger generation as agent of change. Agent of change. Change are need to improve. As time goes by, of course, there are things that are not according with the need and development of times. The younger generation is the bridge between the older generation and the young generation. In order to maintain the original character and identity, the younger generation absolutely interact with the two generations. The interaction of the younger generation is different from the interaction that the younger generation had 5 to 10 years ago. The interaction that occur now are broader, not limit to one country but across continent. In the world education, student interaction through student exchange program is expected to be able to enrich knowledge that's useful for younger generation in the future. The challenge faced of the younger generation are currently different from the previous generation. The increasingly complex problem require progressive thinking for the younger generation to solve them. With the proper education as the basic key, I believe the younger generation will be able to face and find good solutions for the nation state and the world. Well, I do not want to take too much of your time. I need to hand over to our MC. Our today is MC to introduce our guest speaker to all of you. I would like to say once more on behalf of our university, welcome. It is great to see so many you here. Naik pesawat ke Banjarmasin. Tidak lupa membeli sirsak. Selamat datang para hadirin tamu undangan. Semoga acaranya berjalan dengan baik. Menanam padi selalu di sawah. Meski ada banyak hamanya, andai Anda tutur kata yang salah, mohon maaf yang sebesar-besarnya. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to the Vice Rector of Students and Alumni Affairs of Esa Unggul University, who has officially opened the first International Youth Conference on Language and Culture, ICLAC 2022 today. Hereinafter, let's watch the cultural performance of Legong Dance, originating from Bali, Indonesia, presented by Saraswati Devi, member of English Pro Club, Esa Unggul University. Thank you very much for the amazing cultural performance by Saraswati Devi, member of English Pro Club Universitas Esa Unggul. Furthermore, moving to the next agenda, which is a joint discussion with keynote speakers who will be guided by Alicia Tiffany from the Physiotherapy Faculty of Esa Unggul University. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Alicia Tiffany.
All participants of the speech
Julie. From this session, let me take over to lead all of you guys to meet our keynote speakers. Before I start, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Alicia Tiffany. You can call me Alicia. I am majoring in physiotherapy study, and this is my 3rd year in college, and I will be the moderator to lead you during the session. Now, I would like to read the CV of our keynote speakers. I will start from Mr. Yuta Otake first. Yuta Otake is a teacher who have a lot of experiences in teaching around the world. Graduated from Wesleyan University with Bachelor of Arts with honors in East Asian Studies. And he graduated from New York University with Master of Arts in TESOL as well. He worked for many companies and institutions in several Asian countries such as Cambodia, Indonesia, Taiwan, and Uzbekistan. Recently, he worked as a teacher in American Councils, Washington, D.C., United States. He is the founder of Mangrove Education in 2019. Mangrove Education has a mission to provide qualified education for the students to have equal access to education. All right, now we are going to Ms. Sakdia Maruf. Sakdia is Indonesia's first Muslim female stand-up comic, taking the stage to promote dialogue, peace, tolerance, women's empowerment, and fighting violence against women and religious fundamentalism. Sakdia received several recognition and fellowships because of her work, including Havel Prize for Creative Design in 2015, BBC 100 Women in 2018, Human Rights Foundation's Freedom Fellows in 2021, International Arts Leaders Fellowship from Australia Council in the Art 2022. She has performed in Indonesia and abroad, including Australia, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Egypt. Her works including Komedi Jihad, Born a Woman, etc., Indonesia Seharusnya Rumah Bersama, and other shows. She is the co-founder and main facilitator of Our Voice for Change, a woman and youth initiative to promote social change, equality, and inclusivity through comedy. From the CVs that I read to you before, we can know that Mr. Yuta and Ms. Sakdia are a great person. I know you can wait to listen to their presentation. I think we can start from Mr. Yuta Otake first. I would like to remind you all to mute your microphone during his presentation. Okay, Mr. Yuta, if you are ready, the time is yours.
All participants of the speech is
Am I on? All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. I'm so happy to be here. I left Indonesia actually because of the pandemic, And yesterday I came back to Indonesia for the first time. So I'm so happy to be here. And thank you very much, Esa Unggul, for this opportunity. Thank you to this wonderful committee. All of these events take a lot of work, so I really appreciate this opportunity. And most of all, thank you all participants for joining. So let's get started because we only have 15 minutes. I'd like to keep this as interactive as possible. So we're going to use the chat. We're starting with, I hope everyone can see my screen. It says Utah is from da 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 da. Please, using the chat, complete this sentence. Oh, Africa, creative guess. Indonesia. Keep it going. Indonesia, Indonesia. Japan, Indonesia. Japan, Japan, Ecuador. This is we're getting a big list. USA, Canada. All right. So I think we just had one person who's correct. It's actually Muhammad Ramadan Rifa. I am indeed actually from the USA. I am from New York. And not only am I from New York, I'm from Times Square. Like I grew up, I was born and raised in Times Square, which is like the alun-alun of New York. So that's number one. We're gonna do one more just to get to know each other. Utah's parents are professional. So this is their job from, please complete this sentence using the chat. I know you have no idea. That's the point. Just keep guessing. What do my parents do? What is their job? Where are they from? Teachers, professors. They're from Indonesia. Professors. Kung Fu teacher. I wish that was true. I really wish that was true. Designer. Many of you think teachers, so you think like teaching is a family business. Yeah, my parents are teachers. I'm a teacher. All right, I'm sorry. Oh, dentist. Just for time, we're gonna rush through this. I'll tell you the answer. Utah's parents are professional dancers from Japan. So this is true. Both my mother and father, they're professional dancers, not Kung Fu teachers. And they are not from Indonesia. They're from Japan. All right. So from that, I'd like to move on to a very quick, another interactive activity. I'm going to give you two sentences, one by one. Please tell me if you think they are true or false. Number one, bananas are sweet. Please, using the chat, can you respond? What do you think? True, false? We got a lot of true, some emphatic true. Oh, we got one false going on. Okay, we'll come back to this. First, I want to give you one more. We've got a sometimes. Okay, that's good. Number two, I just started by introducing myself, right? The sentence is Utah is Japanese. True or false? Again, let's use the chat. I'm seeing a lot of true. Actually, I'm only seeing true. All right. We're going to come back to this in just one moment. But first, I want to quickly go back to these two questions. I was talking to the committee, like what should we really focus on? And we decided two key themes are how do we communicate in an increasingly intercultural world? And also when we're surrounded by so many different people, so many cultures, religions, how do we also maintain who we are in that multicultural world? So with those goals in mind, I want to go back to our true false, focusing on two key themes that I always emphasize with my students. One is perception. The other one is context. perception and context. So in these 15 minutes, if I want you to remember two things, it's really perception and context. Perception is the way of understanding things or the way people see different viewpoints. Context is the setting or environment. So we have these two terms, perception, context. Now, let's go back to these two true or false sentences. Bananas are sweet. Most of you said this is true, but if we really think about perception and context, this is not always true, right? So for example, if a banana is still young and green, it's not that sweet. That's context. Perception, sweet is actually an opinion. So maybe what's sweet for you is not what's sweet for me. So maybe I argue that bananas are not sweet because it's just my perception, right? Moving to number 2, Utah is Japanese. All of you said this is true, but again, this is a matter of perception and context. For example, I have an American passport. I was born in America. So maybe in that context, I'm American, but both my mother and father are from Japan. So if we're talking about blood, like physically, maybe I'm Japanese. There are these different contexts, right? Same thing with perception. It really matters what I feel. How do I feel? How do I view myself? You can't decide that. I decide that. That's my perception. So again, perception and context. This is a quote that I really like, that I always share with my students. When we reject the single story, when we realize that there is never a single story about any place, we regain a kind of paradise. I always feel like we're increasingly trying to create one single truth about different situations. And this is very dangerous, right? Because we took this kind of simple example of a banana, but we can't always just say there's one truth, a banana is sweet. There's different perceptions, there's different contexts that we have to consider. So I want to tell you one quick personal story to kind of bring together perception and context. So I actually first came to Indonesia about 5 years ago, and I lived in a house in Palembang, Sumatra. On my first day of going to this house in Palembang, Sumatra, I found this. I know this is an international conference, but for all of you in Indonesia, you all know what this is, right? This is a bak mandi. So you can imagine, it's my first time in Indonesia. I go into this house in Palembang, Sumatra. I've never been to Palembang before. This is my first time. I go to the bathroom, I see the bak mandi. All right. So think about perception, perspectives, and context, right? And what do you think I did? Let's interact a little bit through the chat. What did I do? I see this bak mandi, first day in Indonesia. Can you guess? I love that answer. Oh, I Googled it. Wow, drink. I put some fish. I love it. Esa, this is great. Swim. I'm not gonna lie. I love the drink answer. Drink, put some fish like an aquarium, jump into it like a bath, wash the dishes. I made a TikTok video. All right. So again, I'm telling you this story because I want to really emphasize these two terms of perception and context, right? Remember what I've told you about myself. Actually, somebody was correct. It was Sakdia Maruf. You're correct. I went inside the bak mandi, this tiny bak mandi, you know, like I was squeezing my body like this every day for 1 week. I went into this bak mandi. And for all of you in Indonesia, I know that sounds really crazy, right? It's like, what is wrong with this guy? But you have to understand these two terms, perception and context, and where I come from, why I might have done that. I already told you my family's from Japan. Japan is a culture of baths. Everyone takes a bath every single day. Yeah. So for example, this is in my house in Japan. This is my real bathroom. You can see it looks like a bak mandi, right? It's very similar, but this is not a bak mandi. This is a bath. We go inside this every day. So this is my perception. This is my context through which I'm making that mistake. In fact, in Japan, even monkeys take baths every day in the winter. So you have to understand that although it's a big mistake in Indonesia, right? For me, I had a different truth. I had a different perception. I had a different context through which I made that decision. So again, going back to these two huge questions, it's so hard to tackle them in 15 minutes, but I really wanted to just focus on two terms: perception, how we see things. We all see things differently, and context, right? There's a different setting and environment in which we make decisions. And to say that there's only one truth is always very dangerous, because there's always more than one truth. Okay, and finally, I would like to finish with a Kofi Annan quote. We can love what we are without hating what and who we are not. We can thrive in our own tradition, even as we learn from others and come to respect their teachings. Meaning, going back to our previous question, right? How can we be ourselves in a multicultural society? It's really kind of simple. We can always be ourselves without hating, without trying to change what's around us, because we can make that decision. So thank you very, very much. How am I doing on time? Perfect, 15 minutes. So with that, thank you all very much for your time. I would love to stay in touch with all of you. Yes, this, as someone mentioned, we have an organization called Mangrove Education. I travel. Sometimes I run from school to school. I would love to visit you in person, not just via Zoom. So please keep in touch. Very simple. You just have to scan this QR code, register, so that we can keep in touch. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
All participants of the speech,
with Mr. Yuta. Thank you very much. If you have any question related to Mr. Yuta's presentation, you can ask later in the Q&A session after our second keynote speaker is done. After we listen to Mr. Yuta, now it is time for us to listen to our beautiful keynote speaker, Ms. Sakdia Maruf. Okay, Ms. Sakdia, if you are ready, the time is yours.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much to our extremely beautiful moderator as well. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Am I audible? Yes? Okay, great. Good morning. It is a great pleasure and honor to meet all of you. This is an amazing occasion. I'm sure that you are very, very proud for the first International Youth Conference on Language and Culture. I am certain that this is also a student-led conference. That's why I'm truly humbled. I'm very, very honored to be here. And I would like to start by acknowledging those who are rarely acknowledged in events like this. In events like this, we usually celebrate speakers, those who are, celebrate speakers, celebrate our friends, those who are, on stage. So I would like to start this morning by appreciating all of you working tirelessly backstage. Yes, backstage. As a performer, as a comedian, I know that backstage people, backstage friends play a huge, huge role to the success of an event. So yes, while all of us will in turns, celebrating those who are speaking, I would like to start this morning by appreciating everyone working tirelessly backstage to realize this morning's event. And also thank you very much, of course, to Universitas Esa Unggul, Bapak Vice Rector, everyone, all the professors, faculty members, lecturers, everyone who have been very supportive to the students. So, hi, my name is Sakdia Ma'ruf, as presented. I was born and raised in an Arab descent, quite a conservative community in Central Java, where pandemic lockdowns is basically my father doing his job. Like I always said this, you have it for 2 years, I have it for 17 years of not being allowed to go out of the house except for schools and also some some limited extracurricular activities. Why do I start with that? I would like to, I guess, continue what Yuta has been discussing before. There will be a slide on banana as well. I cannot believe it, like listening to Yuta. It's almost like we've been discussing what we are going to present. What I'm going to share with you is, in my personal opinion, the exact follow-up of what Yuta has shared brilliantly. I'm so happy and honored to share stage with you, Yuta. Nice to meet you. Yes, so I would like to start also with a quick interaction. I mentioned before, I'm a woman, I'm from Arab descent, I grew up in quite a conservative community in Central Java. How do you perceive yourself? Who do you think you are? Are you a young people, a woman, a Javanese, a Bataknese, a Spanish, an American? Who do you think, how do you perceive yourself, if you would like to share in the chat? Following up to, a brilliant discussion on perception and context by Yuta, I would like to know, how do you perceive yourself? You can always perceive to yourself as a YouTuber, for instance, if that is the identity that you think is closest to you. If I can have some response on the chat, how do you perceive yourself? Students, Latin American, a person full of life and dreams. Yes, can we have some more? How do you perceive yourself? When it comes to perception, a proud Indian, yes, a proud Indian. How do you perceive yourself? Ecuadorian woman that wants to learn from others. Anyone from Indonesia? How do you perceive yourself? Indonesian or Javanese or Bataknese or Balinese? Javanese, yes, Javanese love to use batik as my casual uniform. Even at concert, yes, let's wear kain every day. Why not? My husband always wears sarung every day, even at conferences, even at international travel. Every day, sarung, yes. proud Filipinos who aims to be a globally effective communicator. Indeed, my friends, ladies and gentlemen, we are as diverse as we can be. And we are, following up to the previous presentations, we are living in a world navigating multiple identity, not only, multiple identity globally, not only multiple identity globally, but multiple identity within ourselves. For instance, yes, now we get to know each other. As a Thai, I really enjoy traditional Thai dance, even took some dancing course. Keep it coming. It will be great for us to be able to know each other. Personally, for instance, I perceived myself as a Muslim, as someone who's coming from Arab descent of family, but also as a very strong Javanese, also as Indonesian, of course, very, very proud Indonesian, as a student, lifelong students, as a mother, as a woman. And those parts of identity have their own challenges, and following up, I know that, I cannot believe this. It seems like we have been discussing this through. So following up to Yuta's discussion on perception and context, I would like to share with you the challenge of living in a multicultural society, because we have been talking about living in a multicultural society, living in its challenges, living through the challenges of living in multicultural society, and also how to tackle those. Allow me to share my screen. Yes. And I would like to talk about comedy, identity, and cultural critique later. Now I would like to start with, let me do full screen. Yes, I would like to start with two follow-up concepts from perception and context. Following up to perception and context, we are facing a challenges that we are living in a multicultural society that we called stereotype and stigma. These two are one of the biggest challenge living in multicultural society. While multiple identities are there to be celebrated, some of us who are Muslims, so we can testify that in our Islamic teachings, we consider differences as blessings. Perbedaan adalah rahmah, differences as blessing. But is this the reality? Is this the reality? One of the biggest challenge of living with multiple identities, living in multicultural societies, especially living in a highly globalized world, very open. The dream of a global world is a global village where there are mutual exchanges. If you have ever heard of this term global village, I'm sure you are, with mutual exchanges that benefit each other. Whereas what we are witnessing, unfortunately, both in our life, in our day-to-day life, and also in our online interaction, for instance, are stereotyping and stigmatizations. And both are closely related to how we perceived our own identity and the identity of others. So exactly, it's about perceptions. I'm so grateful for Yuta's presentations, truly inspiring. So what do you know about stereotype? Can I have a quick chat? What do you know about the meaning of stereotype? Too difficult of a question? I don't think so. Yes. Naming, yes. Naming, okay. Branding, like a title, associations, the way humans, the way we as human beings see. Labeling, yes, labeling. Many are agree about labeling. And what I found interesting also is one of the answers in the chat. Yes, stereotypes are about perceptions and what we think about the world. What is interesting in the chat is the way we see us as human being, the way we see us as human being. Yes, indeed, we are so accustomed of stereotypes. We are so accustomed of stereotypes that we unfortunately believe that it is part of our identity, where it actually is not. Stereotype is an overgeneralizations of certain traits, overgeneralizations of certain traits. So the emphasis here is on the overgeneralizations. We hear that all the time in our community. Some stereotypes sounds positive, like all Sundanese and Balinese women are beautiful, which they are. No one would like to give a heart if you're Sundanese or Balinese. They are. Some stereotypes are negative, such as Javanese are backstabber. I said that because I'm a Javanese. Yeah, Javanese are backstabber, for instance. More internationally, all Indians are tech savvy. We have a proud Indian. I don't know if you are bothered or not, because we have Google CEOs and all the Silicon Valley is dominated mostly by Indians, but some Indians are very funny as well. Hasan Minhaj, for instance, he is not, the tech savvy group, but a comedian group with Kumail Nanjiani and others. So stereotype is over generalizations, whether it is true or not. Whether it is true or not is not the case. Is not the case. Whether a Japanese are backstabbers or not is really not the case. Whether certain communities are tech savvy, certain communities are smarter than others, etc., etc. Whether certain communities, for instance, more stingy, pelit hitungan dan sebagainya than others, is not really the issue. The issue is overgeneralizations. The danger of overgeneralization is exactly what also Yuta has mentioned, that we are overly focused on a single story. And when we are overly focused on a single story, what comes next is labeling, like many of you brilliantly mentioned in the chat. What comes next is labeling, not only labeling, but refusal to see people in the richness, in their diverse identity, in the richness of insights that they can offer to others. Stereotyping prevents us from seeing the beauty in humanity, prevents us from seeing the beauty in our friends, allowing us to be judgmental, allowing us to easily passing comments to others. And this is our challenge. this is what's happening in our life, both in real life and also in our social interactions. We're running out of time. Second is stigma. Stigma, all of you can share on the chat stigma. Stigma is, of course, what comes next after stereotyping. Stigmatizations is an attribute that is considered as bad, as worse, and as weak. For instance, abominations of the body. The exact sentence, the exact phrase is abominations of the body. People who, and also flaws of traits, and also stigma related to race, religion, ethnic groups, etc. Stigmatizations, the deepest danger of stigmatizations is that we corrupt other people of their humanities. Many of those who belong to minority groups in Indonesia and around the world often experience stigmatization. So following your understanding of perception and context, I believe that it is also important for you to understand this idea of stereotyping and stigmatizations for us not falling into these two, when we interact with others. Because I'm sure at one point or another, we are experiencing that ourselves. How do we fight it? How do we fight it in this? How do we fight it if we do experience it ourselves? How do we fight it? As we are running out of time, I want to skip several slides. I personally, experiencing stereotypes, stigmatizations, etc. I personally fight it through humor. Globally, Muslim women sometimes are stigmatized as weak, as being oppressed. Of course, this is what of being an oppressed community, of experiencing violence their whole life. Sometimes it's true, and unfortunately, but then I fight it with comedy. I establish my identity through comedy. For instance, I receive questions like, "Oh, you're in like international forums." Sometimes I receive questions like, "Oh, you're a Muslim woman from Indonesia and you can stand up," because people are having been occupied with stereotype and stigma that Muslim women are, oppressed, left behind, not as educated, etc. And sometimes they are, honestly surprised that some Muslim women are actually very articulate and also in the positions of leadership and can do stand-up comedy as well. And I said, "And you can stand up?" "Oh, yes, ma'am. Since I was 18 months old," like no need to be so harsh. And then also other questions. Other question, and this is very common: "How do you speak such good English?" Usually, like, "How do you speak such good English?" I usually said, "I don't know, CNN, MTV, colonialism. Like, you don't remember teaching us while extracting all of our natural resources?" Doing such thing, we are able to establish our identity and coming up as equal to others. I would like to come up with several examples from my research. Hold on, why is it not moving? Yes, there are several that I would like to skip. This group, Axis of Evil Comedy Tour, they are Arab American, Egyptians American, Palestinian American, Iranian American. Aaron Cater is also Palestinian American, and they are fighting stigmatizations against Muslim post 9/11, where Muslim in many parts of the world, especially in the so-called Western world, are considered as as terrorists, as extremists. And Dino Bidala would say, since 9/11, there are only two stories about us: the bad stories, where we are described as militant and terrorists, the occasional good ones, where we describe as alleged militant and terrorists. So by using word plays, etc., they are able to sort of turn the table, turn the stigmatizations around. Mas Jobrani once said, "I'm a comic. I'm not a terrorist. I put ha ha on my email. I put ha ha." You know, talking about how hard it is for him to communicate in this world where Muslims are being heavily prejudiced. So he has to put ha ha all the time, ha ha, ha ha. You know, I'm friendly. I put ha ha. I'm friendly. Al Qaeda doesn't put ha ha. Mas Jobrani also once said, criticizing the media, like, for once, can you feature us in like a good manner? I'm Mohammed and I'm just baking a cookie. He said, because many Mohammeds are baking a cookie. And, you know, these are the way that we are, quote unquote, fighting back. And these are some of the strategies also that you can use, especially as young people, to navigate multiple identities, to navigate different perceptions, and also to navigate stereotyping, stigmatizations that happens towards you. Indonesia specifically is a very diverse country. Of course, our ideal is unity in diversity. That's our ideal. But we have to be honest, it's in reality, it's not as ideal. Our everyday reality is people vilifying Chinese minority, for instance. We have to admit that. People are vilifying certain ethnic groups, for like from eastern part of Indonesia, for instance. How do we fight back? Are we yelling back? Are we sending hate messages on the internet? Comedy, I believe, is one of the way, because it can help us, it can help us challenge stigma and build new meaning. So not only challenge stigma, but also at the same time introducing ourselves in a more positive light. So not only fighting back, not only challenging stigma, but also introducing ourselves in a more positive light. And also humor help build cohesions. Cohesions means persatuan, unity. We can laugh together. Those who are, you know, us who are being stigmatized, and also those who are stigmatizing us, we can laugh together. And lastly, this is a form of survival. This is a form of conflict resolutions. This is a form of dialogue. So following your understanding on perceptions and context, beautifully explained by Yuta, it's also very important to understand that in the interactions in this multi-identity world, we are often faced with stereotypes, stigmatizations. Personally, for me, as a practicing comedian, comedy allows me to bridge those gaps, to bridge those differences. And I cannot believe it when I saw Yuta's presentations. I will end my presentations also by a quote by Chimamanda Adichie. Oh my God, are we watching the same TED Talk, Yuta? The danger of a single story when we're talking about stereotyping, stigmatizations is a single story. The danger of a single story is not that it is not true. Sometimes it's true, maybe, but it is not complete, which means that according to Erving Goffman in his book Stigma, when we are stereotyping others, when we are stigmatizing others, and when we are being stereotyped against, when we are being stigmatized again, it's actually an act of corrupting our humanity, of not accepting humanity as full. So with that, I hope it can inspire all of you to learn more, to accept each other more, and to celebrate just laughing together and accept the diversity as blessing instead of as differences. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your kind attentions and deepest apologies for taking too much time. I hope that I know, right? Yeah. I hope that it can be of benefit. Looking forward to be able to interact with you further in the future. Thank you so much.
Pick some of you to unmute your microphone and ask orally. Okay, thank you, Ms. Saktia, for your presentation. Unfortunately, she have another agenda and have to leave real soon. Thank you very much. So now we can move on to the Q&A session. If you have any question, you can type on the chat box or you can raise your hand and I will pick some of you to ask orally to our keynote speakers. All of the questions will be directed to Mr. Yuta. You can raise your hand now if you have any question. Okay, Daniel.
Hello there, everyone.
Your microphone.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me well?
Yes.
All right, great. Yuta, I had a question for you. I wanted to know how, I know there's not enough time for you to like, let's say, tell us a little bit about the experience of arriving in Indonesia, right? But I was wondering, you know, as an American, how was it for you to start, you know, um, getting to know the Indonesian culture and then also integrating yourself within the culture and kind of like mingle and starting to enjoy all of the, you know, new things that maybe you discovered. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Yuta, you can answer.
No, what? What? All right, sorry. Thank you. That was Daniel, right? Yeah, Daniel, thank you very much for your question. I'm not sure if you're in Indonesia as well, but to me, what really stands out about Indonesia, I love Indonesia so much. And I think the thing that really stood out to me from the beginning is just everyone smiles all the time. And wherever I go, you know, I've been traveling alone. So when you're alone, it really means a lot to me that when I walk on the street, when I go to eat alone, that everyone will just smile and try to communicate. I'm from New York, so that was very new because in New York, it's such a big city. I don't know if Jakarta is kind of like that, but like in New York, nobody says hello to each other. Everyone ignores each other because there's just too many people. And so that's something that has really stood out. There's a lot of things to say, but just for time, I want to focus on that one aspect that has really stood out to me, which is that everyone always smiles, everyone's positive, everyone is welcoming.
Thank you, Yuta. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Daniel.
Okay, thank you for the question. Is there any question? Is there another question? Okay, Milenia, you can unmute your microphone.
All right. Thank you so much for the opportunity. So I just have one question. So it's actually for Miss Saktia. Can I ask a question for her? Or is this only for Mr. Yuta?
I'm sorry, it is for Mr. Yuta only.
Oh, Mr. Yuta only. So it's okay. It's fine. So it's actually the general question. So actually sometimes we're talking about multicultural society. Sometimes in Indonesia, and especially like in Indonesia lately, we have a multicultural that it's really more general, like one person adapt too much about the other culture until their culture is like doesn't exist anymore inside of this person's, and it's just like spread more wider into their friends, into another friends, and it's like our culture is like mixing with another culture until their culture identity it just doesn't exist anymore. As the young persons, or maybe Mr. Yuta opinions, how us to interact with that tragedy, not tragedy, I mean to that moment, like when our friends or maybe the other friends just adapt too much culture from another country that really change their self. Like for example, you just like when I went to the concert, there's a boy, he's actually a boy, he is only using like only underwear and just using clothes that like a net, which is that's not the culture of Indonesia, that use the appropriate clothes and etc. So I just want to know how for Mr. Yuta, maybe, or for the others, how to interaction for that moment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question, Mr. Yuta.
All right. Oops. Put it down. Put it down. Okay, sorry. Put it down. All right. Thank you very much for that question. That is a very phone. Yeah. Sorry about that. All right. Thank you very much for that question. To be honest with you, that's a question that I face almost every day. With my job, I've been changing countries almost every 2 years. And to me, there's always like, which parts of myself do I keep and which parts do I change in order to be respectful to the place that I'm going? So to me, it's about balance. And I think as you get older, you start to realize like, these are certain parts of myself. These are values that I want to hold dearly. They define who I am. And then there are certain parts where you have to understand like, this is how the society around me is, and I have to adapt to a certain degree to be respectful. So I think I'm not giving you a great answer, but to be honest, it's a question that I ask myself almost every day as well.
All right, Mr. Rita, thank you so much. May I ask one more question, sir?
There we go.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Yuta, for answering the question, and thank you, Milenia, for the question. Okay, everyone, now we will move on to the parallel session, which separates you into different rooms. And to guide you to the next session, we are back to our MC, Julie.
All participants of the speech, Mr.
for the speakers and Alicia Tiffany who guided the discussion, and thank you for all participants. And next, we will continue the discussion about preserving youth identity in multicultural society in parallel session, which are divided into several breakout rooms, and which then each room will be guided by a moderator. After all participants and presenters finish discussing in the breakout rooms, all participants and presenters please return to the main room. Now, all participants please join the design breakout room, and participants are welcome to enter any room you want.
No,
Okay, for all participants, please join the Okay, for all participants, please join the breakout room for discussing about preserving youth identity in multicultural society in parallel session. So please join the room which you want.
All participants of the speech,
Okay, thank you for all speakers and all moderators who have participated and support in breakout rooms. I've seen few of your presentation, guys, and all of that is so interesting. So I will say thank you for your presentation and sharing about your cultures, because it may be will valuable experience for all speakers and all moderators who have participated and support in breakout room. Go to the next. I've seen few of your presentation, guys. For the all of the participants. So I'm sorry. while waiting for the other participants to come back from the breakout rooms, let's watch the fun dance originating from South Korea, performed by members of Hungary Korean Club. Excellencies, distinguished guests, participants, ladies and gentlemen. For the last agenda, before we finish this event, let's listen to the closing remarks from the head of Center of Language and Culture, Universitas Esa Unggul. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Rosalina Nugraini, SPD, MPD.
All participants of the speech,
Okay, now first of all, I would like to say, oh wow, what an amazing event. Okay, what an amazing presentation from the keynote speakers, and then also the presentation from all the parallel speakers. Wow, it is very, very interesting and beneficial for us to learn today. Okay, so first of all, on behalf of the Language and Culture Center, IPRO Club, and also Hungary Korean Club of Esa Unggul University, I would like to express my sincere appreciation, especially to the organizer of this event, that is Efto and his gang. Okay, thank you so much for leading your team to create this program. This first International Youth Conference on Language and Culture 2022 would not have held without you and the team. So thank you very much. I would like also to thank you, the team of TV studio of Esa Unggul, who are patiently help us in preparing and recording this event. And then my next sincere appreciation would also go to Pak Ari Pambudi, the Vice Rector of Student and Alumni Affairs, who is very, very supportive and helpful all the time from the beginning up to the end so that this event can happen smoothly. And the second one, Miss Danielle Bernecker, our lovely and supportive mentor for Esa Unggul IPRO Club. Thank you, Danielle, for your help. And then Eta Sam, thank you. The head of the Hungary Korean Club Indonesia, who is very helpful in guiding the team preparing this event. And then last but not least, the greatest appreciation go to all the speakers who have shared their interesting and wonderful ideas and experiences. I hope that all of us can benefit from this discussion, from the discussion today, and create a better and peaceful life around the world. And then to all the participants, thank you very much for attending this event from the beginning up to the end. Without your support, I do believe that this conference will not be fun. Thank you very much for attending this conference. We are waiting for all of you to come and join us again next year at the second International Youth Conference and on Language and Culture 2023 with more interesting topics to discuss. So bye-bye, stay safe and healthy always. Much love from us, Esa Unggul University, Jakarta, Indonesia. Bye-bye. Thank you.
All participants of the speech is good.
Rosalina, for your closing remarks. I hope today's event will be beneficial for all of us. And also thank you very much to all participants, presenters, distinguished guests, and all of the committees involved in today's events. And before we really end today's first conference, International Youth Conference on Language and Culture, let's take some photos of documentation in today's conference. Okay. Slide 1. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Take a picture. And second slide. 1, 2, 3. Give smile. Okay, now third slide. 1, 2, 3. Give a peace hand and smile. Okay, thank you guys. With the closing remarks from the head of Center of Language and Culture, today's event is officially ends. Certificate for participants and parallel speakers can be obtained after filling out the attendance links provided in the Zoom meeting chat. In the end, let me say thank you for your participation. Thank you, guys. See you next year in the second ICLAC. Okay.
Unggul.